I don't think that multiple Disneylands has diluted the Disney brand at all. There are people that are looking for experiences and entertainment everywhere in the world. As soon as you say mini spheres, I'm thinking, is this the next IMAX? There's some mini IMAXs that don't quite have the sound. And my concern would be is that a watered down version may not be as impactful.
What is this?
A center for ants?
What?
Derek, it's just a
I don't want to hear your excuses. The center has to be at least 3 times bigger than this.
New disability options for cinema goers. PTZ Optics unveils a new broadcast camera. And how much AI changes your business communications. All that and more next on AV Week. This is AV Week, episode 783, recorded Friday, August 21st, 2026. Diluted AV. This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of the biggest news and stories in the AV and the IT world. Auracast gets into cinemas, UC market to hit $700 billion, and another round of awards. Let's get into it. First up, a new report projects strong growth for unified communications and collaborations. According to SNS Insider, the global UCC market reached $212 billion in 2025. Analysts project it will grow to $715 billion by 2035. Now, that works out to a compound annual growth rate of nearly 13%. Analysts point to hybrid work, cloud communications, and digital workplace adoption as the main drivers. Within that market, cloud-based UCaaS platforms led all components with a 34.5% share in 2025. Voice communication remains the top application, though. Video conferencing is growing fastest. North America currently holds the largest regional share at just under 40%. The IT and telecom sectors leads all end-use industries, though healthcare is growing fastest as telemedicine expands. Analysts project the U.S. market alone will more than triple, reaching $236 billion by 2035. Next, accessibility technology is expanding in movie theaters overseas. View Cinemas is rolling out Ori, an assisted listening system, across its UK and Ireland locations. Ori uses Auracast broadcast audio technology from Listen Technologies and Ampetronic. The system is now live in 20 View Cinemas, covering 200 screens. Patrons with Auracast-enabled hearing aids, cochlear implants, headphones, or earbuds can receive cinema audio directly on their own devices. View also offers dedicated Ori receivers for guests without compatible devices. Now, beyond hearing loss, the system can deliver audio descriptions for visually impaired patrons. It also offers an alternative listening option for neurodiverse guests. Each Ori transmitter can broadcast to an unlimited number of receiving devices within range. View can run Ori alongside its existing assisted listening systems rather than replacing them. View manages the entire network through Ori Manager software. In camera news, PTZ Optics has launched a new flagship broadcast camera called Rise. The Rise 4K features a 1-inch 50-megapixel sensor. It captures 4K video at up to 60 frames per second. Camera includes a 20x optical zoom with roughly a 71-degree field of view. Phase detect autofocus keeps subjects sharp during movement. Built-in image stabilization and a 3-stage ND filter round out the image packaging. For production teams, Rise supports timecode and Genlock for multi-camera sync. It also supports Freed tracking for virtual production and augmented reality workflows. Connectivity includes 12G SDI, HDMI, USB 3.0, and SFP fiber. Network protocols include NDI-HX, RTMP, RTSP, and SRT. Camera ships with Horizon Web, a browser-based control interface with tracking and automation tools. PTZ Optics says the goal is to bring broadcast-grade imaging within reach of smaller production teams. The company is targeting broadcasters, houses of worship, universities, and enterprise studios with the new model. In integration news, Sharp Imaging and Information Company of America has joined the QSYS plugin library. The company's new control plugin earned the QSYS verified badge this week. It lets integrators manage Sharp displays directly from the QSYS full-stack AV platform. That includes power, input selection, audio, brightness, and diagnostics. The plugin supports all current Sharp large format displays. It also covers Sharp's all-in-one DV LED models and legacy NEC large format displays. Sharp developed the plugin in collaboration with QSYS with support from Control Concepts. Sharp says the move reflects growing demand to meet customers on whichever control platform they've already standardized on. And finally, Commercial Integrator has released its 40 Influencers Under 40 Class of 2026. This marks the 13th year of the program, which launched back in 2014. The list recognizes AV professionals aged 39 and younger across colleges and universities, integrators, manufacturers, distributors, consultants, and technology management roles. This year's honorees include Vanessa Burke, program manager at CTI, Jago from Control Concepts, and Katie Thompson of Midwich US. Commercial Integrator says the class reflects growing diversity in the backgrounds and skills entering the industry. Readers can find the full list and an interactive honoree layout now on Commercial Integrator's website. That's your AV news for the week. Stick around. Our guests discuss what you and your company need to know about using AI in collaboration tech. That conversation is next. This is AV Week. Welcome back. Now we bring in our fantastic roundtable with us to discuss a couple of really interesting pieces. First and foremost, Brock McGinnis. Welcome, sir.
Hi, Tim. Glad to be here.
My brother from another mother, Mr. Chris Netto.
How are you, sir? How's everything?
Good. Good to see you.
Let's get into it.
Thank you so much. And the person who has single-handedly pushed my book into the New York Times bestseller list, Brandy Johnson from PTZ Optics. Welcome, man.
Hey, hi. Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me. And that's so good.
I'm joking. My book is not on the New York Times bestseller list, but she's bought more copies than my father has. I'll just put it that way. Let's just put that out there. Yeah, it was a lot. Brandy was nice enough to buy a bunch for her sales team, and she's very, very kind. So.
And I bought them for Broadfield Distributing too.
Oh, very good. All right, let's kick this off. We got a couple topics, maybe three, to get to today. First and foremost, we chatted about this about 2-3 months ago about some Chinese folks coming along and saying, "Hey, that Sphere thing is really cool. We're going to make our own with our own gear." So Sphere said, "Wait a minute, we'll do the same thing." Sphere Company, Sphere Entertainment, wants at least 10 venues open or under construction within 5 to 6 years. CEO James Doolan, he laid out the goal on a recent earnings call. Now, the Las Vegas Sphere, of course, opened up in 2023. It is still the company's only operating venue. A second full-scale, that's an important phrase there, give me a second, full-scale Sphere is under construction in Abu Dhabi. That's supposed to open up in 2029. That one specifically, the UAE's Department of Culture and Tourism, they're funding it, and they will own that venue under a franchise agreement. Sphere is also developing smaller, roughly 6,000 seat venue at National Harbor in Maryland, so basically DC. That is the first planned network of scaled-down Spheres in additional city. Now, the Abu Dhabi model, they let a local partner fund construction, and Sphere just basically gets a franchise and royalties. That structure is one of the templates that the company plans to repeat as it sets up globally. Brock, I'm going to start with you on this. I mentioned the Chinese story that we did a couple of months ago, because the question then was, does that dilute it, especially if they're not using the Sphere Entertainment Company and the original technology? Now, it's the Sphere Entertainment putting out multiples. So, what will multiple Spheres do, first of all, to help promote AV experiences?
I don't think that multiple Disneylands has diluted the Disney brand at all.
Okay.
Right? There are people that are looking for experiences and entertainment everywhere in the world. I think the Sphere in Vegas holds like what, 15,000 people or 18,000 people, or
I think it's 20. If you put for concerts, if you put people on the floor, I think it's 20,000.
It was 21, I think.
21. Okay.
all right. So, but maybe 1 million people go through it a year. There's a gazillion billion people on the planet. So, this is the latest and greatest thing. As soon as you say mini spheres, I'm thinking, is this the next IMAX? Because we ran through that. I don't know if you've tried to get a 70 millimeter ticket to Odyssey.
You can't get one.
There's only one real IMAX in Toronto, and I was involved when it opened and did a bunch of technical work there. There's some mini IMAXs that don't quite have the sound and don't quite have the same. And my concern would be is that a watered down version may not be as impactful. Although I saw the last 2 Dunes at a mini IMAX and was still very, very pleased with how that worked. But Mr. Dolan's a marketer, and if he's got a hot property, run with it, especially if he can use other people's money.
That's 100% fair. Brandy, same kind of question is what will this do, either to the Sphere brand or to helping us that are constantly trying to get more and more folks into the industry to help us to promote AV experiences or AV jobs?
The Sphere obviously is absolutely amazing, right? Like, I think we've all been there.
Keep going.
It costs $1 million to go. Like, most average people can't afford to get a ticket, right? Like, it is very expensive. I think that maybe many, like smaller ones, maybe they won't charge as high ticket item, and more people can go to the venue, hopefully. But I am hoping that it'll bring more jobs into the AV industry, and the Sphere is super exciting. People love it. It is an attraction, right? So maybe it'll bring people into the harbor that normally don't go, right, to go to the Sphere. Or, I think there's Nashville's another one that they're looking at putting another area. So I think that it'll bring jobs into the industry. I think it's an exciting thing for our younger generations, right? Because there's so many, it's like an ADD person's dream. Oh my God, the Sphere is an ADHD human's dream. So I think that it'll do some good things.
It's very stimulating. Let's put that.
It's so stimulating. So as far as diluting, I don't think so. I think that everybody's always looking for something to do, something new to do, and I think it'll be great.
Mr. Netto, you're the one who's been around the world in the last 80 days. What is your feeling about having mini spheres pop up when it comes to promoting AV experiences?
Honestly, the first time that I walked into the Sphere was at an InfoComm event, and if they weren't using that for recruitment and for job hiring purposes, I don't know what else they could possibly do. Because when I left there, and I just went to go see at the time it was the Darren Aronofsky film that was being shown, I walked out of there blown away. That's peak AV at the time that we are right now. Right, it's a great example of experiential. It's a great example of LED, sound, sight, smell. I mean, it's super sensory. Right now, is that the far extreme of what AV can bring to the table? 100%. But that is exactly what you need. Imagine a sphere full of high school students who are possibly thinking of entering the space, or maybe some college students who are comm majors who are like me, trying to chase their dreams of being a producer or a cameraman or something in the future. And, all it took for me was a very disappointing dinner with some camera guys to tell me that I was going to follow them around for 10 years, pulling, with their cables up and down a football field, and that I wouldn't have a camera on my back for at least another 10 to 15 years after that. I'm like, you know what? That's not what I want to do, but I can get into this. And what made me jump into AV was something like that. Because I was a DJ and because I worked in the nightclubs, I quickly realized that I was good at what I did, but I was even better at ripping out that amplifier when it blew and swap out another one, or switch from one to the other, or control the lighting board and do that kind of stuff. That was really what I kind of understood. And then I completely came to the realization that the lifespan of a DJ is much shorter than it would be as a professional lighting guy or a sound installer. So why not build it? And I think that's what the Sphere brings to the table. The Sphere gives that wow, that, oh my, I can do this, right? And I think that is what I think our trade associations should be really focusing on. Kind of, it works a little better than just walking somebody into a room and seeing a conference room. I mean, no disrespect to the average conference room, but that's not really, oh wow, Put them behind that, take them to the Sphere, put them behind, the front of house, show them what those big mixing boards are. I think that would be kind of cool.
All right, that'll work. Next story comes to us from several places, but AV Network is the one we're using. Shure has become SAVE certified at the corporate level. The certification comes through Sustainability in AV, a nonprofit helping organizations act on the United Nations 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. 21 Shure employees completed the program's education, workshop, and planning process. Shure is also a charter member of SAVE's Sustainable Manufacturers Council. That council works to reduce e-waste and promote responsible manufacturing across the AV industry. SAVE founder Christy DeBono said she expects other companies to follow Shure's lead. Shure Chief Transformation Officer Althea Ricketts will represent the company at October's SAVE Global Conference in Los Angeles. Brandy, we're going to start with you as our manufacturer on this panel. How much does a manufacturer's sustainability certification factor into the conversations that you have both with the end user as well as with the integrator?
So it should be more because PTC Optics is big on sustainability, and we have been for many years. We went solar. He gave me the sheet was so long of the things that we do for sustainability. We actually have somebody that's dedicated. We have a few people that are dedicated to our sustainability. We have removed all packaging that has any plastic, bubble wrap, anything from all of our boxes. We are working on discarding of those boxes for our end users. And making sure the boxes are discarded properly. So there are so many things that we are doing. We aren't a part of SAVE. I think that we have reached out to be a part of SAVE, but it's something that we really are dear. We hold near and dear to our hearts. All our vehicles are hybrid, so everything we do, it revolves around sustainability. And I think as eco-friendly as the world is, it's something that we should be talking about more. And we are going to have in our marketing efforts coming up soon more about that.
All right. Mr. Netto, a number of manufacturers have either joined SAVE or they've done their own thing. And obviously, you've got Shure here. I'm reminded of Sony, Logitech's big push into sustainability. Samsung had a ginormous piece of their stand at ISE a couple of years ago where they listed out their entire recycling program. In conjunction, Harman did as well, separate stand, but same overarching company. Chris, how big of a deal is this for the overall industry?
You're starting to see a lot of that more and more, and it's actually, you focused on the manufacturers. The manufacturers obviously are the first ones and probably the most obvious, right? They send the packages out and the gear and all that. But sustainability is a bigger promise, and SAVE is a bigger promise than just recycling your water bottles and your packaging and stuff like that. They go into DEI and start connecting in the dots for a lot of different things. So that's credibility on their side. I mean, that's kudos to them for getting that conversation's even started. One of the things that I saw this year coming out of Infocom, which kind of slid under the radar, was one of the integrators, and I work with many integrators, as you know, as a distributor at Midwich. We're out there and we're doing work with a lot of folks. One of the integrators are moving to autonomous electric pickup and delivery of their products. So we're working with that right now and trying to figure out how we're going to be able to do it. Currently, the last mile is a manned event, a manned truck that picks up, but they will be delivering gear with autonomous fleet that they are actually working with and developing. So that's a very interesting kind of concept. But to be honest with you, man, this conversation was had 5 years ago, and I did have this conversation on things like AV and the AM. The answer back was typically, is it going to make my stuff cheaper? More so about than it was about the environment. And I'm being honest. I mean, and it's an honest answer. Now, granted, a lot of the folks that were answering on the AV and the AM weren't the decision makers, weren't the ones up there. They just want to be able to just move product and get the product in and out. They see it one way, but the environment is an issue. That's been an issue for many, many years, and we need to take care of what Mother Nature has given us. But on top of that, we are running really low on certain resources, and we're starting to see that now. Conversations I just recently had regarding copper and how copper is becoming scarce for people that manufacture cable, and how costly it is. It's crazy how raw materials have gotten so expensive and so hard to get. When you start adding up all this stuff, I think the sustainability efforts that people are doing are only going to get amplified as we move forward, because we've done our damage to the planet, and we can't take some of this stuff and put it back, right? So we need to do what we can, and taking a pledge, and whether that is just pledging on paper is one thing, but actually doing something about it, I think is the valiant effort that we need to do here. And I think it's bigger than just, hey, we need to recycle cardboard and break down boxes and make sure they get into the proper recycling centers. I think that, overall we need to do a better job, because unfortunately we deal with packaging and all that, because we're obviously shipping and receiving and doing all that, but we are also wasters of that, right? You plug in that LED wall, we're trying to make it better and less, more energy efficient, right? Not run as hot. And then even if you want to go into the efforts that are being done for light pollution, right? As we just, obviously we just recently talked about the sphere. One of the cases that was brought up against the fact that London, for example, was supposed to have a sphere, not a baby sphere.
And they said no, thank you.
They said no, thank you, not because of the architecture, but because of the light pollution, and the fact that it would go up against the night sky, which is a thing. And I actually have downward facing lights in my house. Just it's small. It's a small little thing, but the more light pollution's out there, you're not going to see the things that are up in the heavens. So little tiny things, little adjustments all make a difference. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Mr. McInnes, do customers, at the end of the day, I mean, Chris made the point, from AV and the AM, is it going to make my stuff cheaper? Whether we're talking about, the governance part of certain companies and corporations, or even universities, the bottom line is, do customers that you're talking to, do they care about sustainability initiatives? At
least nominally they do. And so a lot of the government customers we deal with, it's part of the paperwork that goes in. They want to understand what our sustainability plans and processes are, and everybody has a box to check. I love the fact that Brandy talked about what her company actually did, as opposed to sending 21 people to a seminar and getting a certification, and not at the same time talking about, and I'm sure they do all sorts of stuff, but I found it interesting that this release only talked about 21 people traveling to a seminar, probably not carbon neutral, and not about their reductions in use of water and power and other resources. I think Chris made some very good points. The English at this point, Chris, though, I'm not sure that with the O2 and with the eye and all of the other light that is in metropolitan London, that the sphere would make one bit of difference. But it's American, and it's probably not at the top of their list of things to import this week.
I will say this, and Chris mentioned, 5 years ago he was talking about this on AV and AM. I feel like we've been talking about this for 10 or 15 years.
Oh, without a doubt.
I'm reminded of Medora Connolly, who 12, 13 years ago, had an entire series on Rave about Green AV and talking about this initiative. And one of the things that came out of that was green can go both ways. Back to Chris's point, green can certainly be sustainable. But if we're reducing the cost of, packaging, reducing the cost of energy consumption, Chris in the audience of AVNAM has a point. It should, in some way, reduce the overall cost, or is that too Pollyanna?
It could be Pollyanna, and the only reason why I say that is because we're reducing. What we're trying to do here is there's a couple different things, and one of the things that I mentioned was the fossil fuels and the stuff that we actually need, the raw material. Raw material, as soon as it gets harder to find, becomes more expensive. Okay. So taking that material back, breaking down circuit boards, taking old wires, stripping off the coating, melting that stuff down, reusing it, yes, absolutely. And we, as an industry, have been, we're not the best stewards of that for many years prior to that. We were not using the best, we could have been using really great materials, and now they're scarce. Now what? Now how are we replacing this? And the best thing that we got is the people that are complaining on the other end that are saying, man, my TV doesn't last as long as...
Copper's not sparse. There's lots of copper.
No, there's not. I'm not saying just copper is just... Yeah. We need copper.
Tariffs have made copper expensive in the United States, particularly on finished goods with copper in them. But so people hold.
Are we going where copper is mined now with the conversation?
I know a couple places, but they're not here.
But you also have to think there's less packaging, right? But states are actually mandating manufacturers pay to discard of end users' packaging.
Brandy, send me those states, because that is interesting.
You're also starting to see a lot more of this.
Yeah, that's something that it's something that's starting to happen. I think actually Pennsylvania is one of them that Jerry said. I'll have Jerry send me that list because it's something that he's working on right now. Because manufacturers pay. There's so much. Everything comes from the manufacturer, and it's not like a business. Not Joe's house, but to businesses. So.
Well, and I am also, I forgot one more company, Legrand, has also made a big effort in this and changing around their packaging. It's obviously 20 years ago when I was a tech manager, you buy a pair of speakers and you've got styrofoam keeping those speakers safe, right? And that styrofoam has now been replaced by some sort of cardboard, which is certainly a savings and certainly a bit more sustainable. Yeah. So, all right. I think we got time. Let's do it, even if we don't have time. Last story. This is a sponsored feature on UC Today. It was produced with governance vendor Arctera. They argue that AI-generated content now needs real compliance rigor. Copilot drafts, meeting summaries, AI recommendations, they're part of everyday business. Now, Arctera's own State of AI Governance in 2026 report found that 85% of organizations already use AI in regulated workflows. The same report found 60% of organizations place AI risk squarely on compliance teams. Interesting. Arctera SVP argues that AI-generated content becomes a business record once it influences a decision. They say that organizations must retain and explain that record rather than treat it as a disposable output. Mr. Netto, if AI-generated summaries, if Copilot drafts, if all this AI stuff, if we got to start archiving this, who's responsible for it, and should we have to keep track of all this stuff?
Why'd you have to start with me on this, man? I am still trying to process that. Where are we going with this? This has got to be the worst one yet.
Well, I mean, if that's the worst one, I'm still batting 600. So that's not too shabby.
All right. So explain this to me. You have governance now over AI-generated content.
Yes.
And you're assuming that the AI-generated content is coming from an interior thing, Like you're not going to the World Wide Web
Yes.
to scrape. This is coming from inside the company.
Yes, inside the house. It's inside the house.
Is it any different than publishing? If it's coming from your house and it is your words or your stuff, is it any different than you writing the report using a book and copying out of it? I don't understand. You want everything to have a label on it? Is that where we're going?
I think, Chris, that Tim may be referring to meeting records. So if there is a transcription of the conversation we're having today, that becomes part of the official corporate record and can then be called upon by lawyers as evidence of doing this or not doing that. I know that in our own internal meetings, when we are having personnel discussions, we disable the AI meeting notes. And most plenary groups, city councils, whatever, they have in-camera sessions, which for AI purposes would be, recording off in order to maintain confidentiality. And I think companies actually should be really freaking worried about that, because the lawyers are already subpoenaing. They seem to be able to go after your social media, your email, your text messages, your WhatsApp, your Signal, your Telegram. Oh, we're not supposed to have those, sorry. Having a record of every meeting and every conference that your business had in a file somewhere is probably a very valid risk to point out.
Well, and Brandy, we'll end up with you on this. PTZ Optics obviously makes cameras that sit in some of those spaces. Where should we be concerned? And I guess the best way question is what is the best practice here on making sure that your company is protected, but while also at the same time making sure that you can still communicate?
So, with our cameras, our 4Ks, you have privacy mode. So it'll actually cut audio and do an about face. So if a conversation gets into a sensitive subject that not everybody should hear or know, or you want to have recorded, you can just turn it on privacy mode and it'll cut everything and you're not getting recorded anymore. But we also turn off notes a lot of times, just because of that. But any AI things that we generate, we use open code. We have a local server. Everything gets stored for anything that we generate work related.
All right, that'll be a good place to stop. Thank you all so much. Mr. Brock McGinnis, thank you, sir. How do people connect with you or Nationwide?
You can find me, Brock McGinnis, on LinkedIn or Brock at nationwideav.com in Toronto. We're an integrator. Not spending a lot of time on social lately, but still out there a bit. Miss it. Hi, Chris. I especially miss you.
I don't miss Neto at all. I've been chatting with him all week. So, Brandy Johnson, thank you, ma'am. How do people connect with you or PTZ Optics?
So you'll connect with me on LinkedIn at Brandy Clay-Johnson and PTZ Optics, www.ptzoptics.com.
All right, very good. Mr. Neto, thank you, sir. How do people connect with you, with Midwich? How do they connect with you on AV and the AM?
AV and the AM remains and continues to be a hashtag, so find it, hashtag AV and the AM, typically just on Sundays as people have been using it, so that's great. That's just kind of like the unspoken thing. You can find me on LinkedIn, Christopher Neto CTS. I hope to get a couple credits next week because I got to go get some training on LED in order to maintain that last three letters of my name attached to it. But you can find Midwich at midwich.us. That is our US based website, midwich.com as well if you want to talk to the globals and to the folks over in the UK. But outside of that, you'll probably see me on the road and various places. And boy, are my arms tired because I just flew in. So that's it. Tim, why don't you tell them where they can find you? Because
you can't find me. Do not follow me anywhere.
You're always hiding, dude. You're like the hide and seek expert.
I am. I am. But go by the website, AVNation.tv. That's AVNation.tv. You will find this program and a host of others. Speaking of traveling, as Mr. Noto was, I am heading to IBC the 11th through the 14th of September. You can check out that coverage because it's already starting. I'm also doing the keynote at Almo's E4 in Dallas, September 15th, and Boston, October 15th. You can go to e4experience.com. If you want to connect with me and read things that have nothing to do with AV, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. But go by the website if you would, please, avnation.tv. It's avnation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. That's all the time we have for AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AV Nation.
This is AV Nation.